Okay, so shift out. So who's an AIT here? AIT or ST3, you know. Yeah, do we have any first fives here? Okay, fantastic, good. So in recent years we've expanded the scope of the day to cover first 5 GPs as well, to say share all the needs with the ST3s coming out of training. So I've just got a few slides just to welcome you to the day, and then I'm going to hand over to Prit, who's going to be delivering our keynote speech. So nearly at the end of training, so it's time for celebration, hopefully, in a few months' time. But also a time when people sometimes feel a little bit apprehensive about what's to come after training. You know, some excitement, but also some big changes. That's from a Rocky film. So it means the end of support. So for a lot of people, this might be the first time that they're outside of a training program or environment, and those environments actually offer a lot of support in this. If you're having problems, there's people you can turn to that are in place, and some of that, well, in fact, that disappears, you know, at the end of training. So sometimes people can't worry about that. And protection. So sometimes people say, thus far, people have enjoyed sort of standard training contracts and terms and conditions, and there's often a feeling you're going out into the big wide world, and you know, maybe there are people out there who may be more able to negotiate harder and dictate less favourable terms and conditions. So the end of some protection, potentially. So no more, is it Wednesday here? So no more regular weekly meetings or trainings. No longer have that ready-made network. So sometimes people worry about becoming a bit disconnected from their peers and a bit isolated. And something missing. So 3 years GP training, but often there's still quite a lot to learn, quite a lot to develop, and of course, you know, the world of medicine is changing, things are developing. It's a world of lifelong learning, so you've got to put new structures in place to make sure that you can keep up to speed and keep abreast of developments and keep relevant. Guaranteed employment. So this is something that, so I worried when I finished my ST3, you know, even though you would think that you shouldn't worry about employment, people get anxious about getting the right kind of job, you know, the job that they want. So that's something which can be worrying. So, but fear not. So you're at the RCGP Vale of Trent Faculty Transition Day Conference, and we're here to help address some of those worries and concerns. So hopefully today we'll be supporting AIT and first 5 doctors as they transition from training towards building rewarding careers in general practice. That's the sort of strap line of the day, so hopefully we'll deliver on that. So we've got a packed programme, so we're going to try and keep to time, so there will be people sort of marshalling people in and out of rooms. There's quite a lot to cover, but there's less than there was last year, so hopefully we'll be able to keep to time and cover everything. Just highlighting the lunchtime event. So we've got an innovative event at lunchtime. This is something that we ran with great success last year. It's bringing the speed dating format to finding a job as a new GP. It's relevant both for people looking for partnerships, salary, but also locums, people looking for locum work as well. So we've got about 25 to 30 practices from around the area: Lincoln, Mansfield, Derby, Nottingham. They're going to come and sit at tables at the event just after lunchtime, and you guys will circulate around with a ring of a bell. Great opportunity to practice those first impression skills, to practice some simple interview skills and techniques, practice impressing people, hand over your contact details, and if you really like the look of somebody, then maybe a relationship or employment will follow. That event was quite successful last year, and we've actually got a photographer coming from GP Frontline, which is the RCGP magazine, who are writing an article about the event both last year and this year, so they will be taking some photographs during the event. We're also trying to be innovative today, and we're doing some filming on mobile phones to make some of this footage available online, and also use it to make a promotional video for attracting people to come and train as GPs and train as GPs in the East Midlands and stay and work in the East Midlands afterwards. You may also be asked to volunteer to maybe give a brief soundbite about why general practice is great and why the region is good, and those will be used in the video. We'll be taking specific consent about that if we approach you to do it. This is the sort of thing we might do with videos. This is something another conference has done very easily to put videos in there. So nearly at the end of this introduction. So just introducing the team. So I'm Dr. Foster, Andy Foster. I'm a GP partner from Bulwell, and I'm on SEC of the RCGP Vale of Trent faculty. Just want to stand up to Gandhi. You won't go everybody. It was Gandhi and Jenny, and then we'll probably hand over to Prit. You can say who you are.
Okay. Dr. Singh Gandhi, I'm the chair of the faculty. I guess the quick thing I would say, people always ask us what the RCGP does for GPs. My simple answer to all of you today is this is one of our main things that we do to use our local members. We hope you enjoy it. It is a big thing for us, and we hope it's useful for you.
Hi, I'm Jenny Ross-Langfield, also working Bulwell with Andy. I'm in first 5 leads, so when you guys are, all those who are first 5 already, and all of you guys who are going to be moving into the first 5, then I'm the person who represents you guys down at college centrally. And come and talk to me later if you're interested in stuff like that.
Yeah, fantastic. And the day is proudly supported and paid for by the RCGP and the local faculty. We're obviously part of the faculty, we're very thankful for their support, and that's how this event has been made available free of charge to the majority of you in the room. So just one of the benefits of membership. Final slide. So this is really, really cheesy, but a lot of jobs in the world are just pushing information around, pushing numbers around. A lot of people don't feel that they're making a difference in their job. This is something Steve Jobs said to the CEO of Pepsi Cola when he recruited him to come and work at Apple in the 80s. So, do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugar water, or do you want to change the world? So it is a bit cheesy, but at least as general practitioners, we do sometimes forget that we touch people's lives every day.
Ridiculous lecture. Yes, more noise. It's lecture. Oh, bored already. Go stretch. Okay, more stretch. Caught up. And relax. Okay. Okay. The one person who did need to go and do a bit of exercise didn't do it. I'm not saying. Okay. That's okay. So, my qualifications only tell part of the story. In fact, it's really nice to be here because for a long time I was a program director, and so this actually is a very slightly familiar sort of lecture theatre, although it seems a lot more sterile and a lot more shiny and bright than it was. But my current position is I'm an associate postgraduate dean at Health Education East Midlands. So, other men's flowers. This actually is a quote taken from Montaigne, who was a French philosopher, a moral philosopher, and statesman around about the 16th century. And it is related to something else which I'll show later on another slide. But he basically was an essayist, and he used to collect lots of ideas and put them together, and was renowned for his essays. And basically, this is a quote: "I have gathered a posy of other men's flowers, and nothing but the thread that binds them is my own." And so what I'm presenting is this journey I'm going to take you on, the 45 minutes I've got, is like lots of little flowers I'm going to show you. And it's my little collection. But more than that, why I chose the title Other Men's Flowers. I went to school. There was a school called Highhaven Grammar School just up the road, where my favourite subject was, I was more of an artist person. I was never much of a scientist, to be honest with you. On my last day at school, my English lit teacher gave me this book, which is called Other Men's Flowers. I'm going to pass this book around because I've actually had this book next to the Oxford textbook of medicine, and I've actually referred to this book more often during my career than I have to textbooks. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what's in it, but I'm going to pass it round. I'm also going to pass you this other book he gave me, which is the Essays of Montaigne, the philosopher. And if you've got, we've got only 45 minutes, but have a look, just have a look at one page of some of the things he's written. And you think, my God, this is such inspirational writing. Okay, so if I take that to you over here, please look after it. That's been with me for nearly 35 years or so. Okay, so my collection comes from a host of different experiences in my life. And in fact, Anna, stand up. It's okay, Anna. So, as I said, I'm basically, one of my other interests is widening access to medical schools. I don't know whether you know, but the social class gradient of people getting successful applications in medical schools has actually gotten worse over the years. And certainly one of the advantages of the old grammar school system was it was a great social equalizer. And we were known as the docks. And literally all but 2 of us had places at medical school, which actually is quite rare these days. But literally, the grammar schools were the great social equalizers. And then this sort of basically traces my career through various organizations, but things I'm particularly proud of. And I want to mention this because Anna's here, and this is a project that I was involved in, what, nearly 2 years, just over a year ago now, which is a project where we took some GP registrars from the UK and mixed them with doctors who had recently qualified in Kenya, and we did an exchange project. So there's a lot of flowers I've got, and of course there's my own practice in Sneinton, in St Anne's, where I was there for nearly 25 years and left again about a year ago. And more recently a project that some of you may have seen an advert about being involved in the China exchange project. I don't know whether you saw the advert that I sent out requesting interest, people who want to do something similar, but in China, similar to the Kenya project, but in China. So, when I was 18, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I really was at a loss. I know my heart was going towards the arts, and my head was perhaps in the sciences. But there was one book that made it's a book I literally read in one sitting. I don't know whether you read it, but basically it's a book called Siddhartha. And this is a book written by Hermann Hesse, who's a Nobel Prize winner for literature. And it traces the journey of a young Brahmin boy through that age when you wanting the question, when you ask the question why, and looking for reasons for existence. And if you haven't read it, please read it. It literally is a small book, and you can read it in one sitting. You won't be able to put it down. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but in fact, when you read it, you'll think, my gosh, I can see sort of metaphors in it. I can see similarities, and I can see experiences that relate to me and to people around me. So it's a book that's well worth reading. And it had a major impact on me. And one of the things that really hit me is the difference between finding and searching. And I guess most of us here are searchers, but I quite like what this little sort of narrative in the book was. And this is where Siddhartha finally meets the Buddha. Okay. He meets the Buddha and he has a conversation with the Buddha. And he basically tells him, and he has this, and he's trying to go for enlightenment. And then he says to the Buddha, when someone is searching, said Siddhartha, then it might easily happen that the only thing his eyes still see is that what he searches for. That he is unable to find anything, let anything enter his mind, because he always thinks of nothing but the object of his search. Because he has a goal. Because he is obsessed by the goal. Searching means having a goal. But finding means being free, being open, having no goal. You, O Venerable One, are perhaps indeed a searcher, because striving for your goal, there are many things you don't see, which are directly in front of your eyes. Very challenging to the Buddha, I thought, very brave, but that's the bravery of youth. So, you're not going to listen to me, I'm now going to ask you to do something. Well, before I do that, and this is relevant again, I do long bike rides, and I have a goal. I have a point, I have an A point of departure, and a point where I want to get to. And this was a long bike ride, about 75 miles, based from Nottingham to where I was going in Lincolnshire. And I got lost, mainly because I thought I could rely on my phone for navigation. But in some parts of Lincolnshire, the signal is crap, and I lost the signal. So I ended up lost. But you know what? In the process, I came across something even better than the journey I planned. I basically found another route, which was absolutely beautiful, which I wouldn't, if I'd stuck to the original route, I wouldn't have found. And also, about sort of a couple of years ago, and this is in one of the villages near to the village where I live, again where I wasn't looking for anything, and I saw this sign, which I'll come back to later. So, I want you now, in just in twos, okay, reflect on that statement that sort of Siddhartha said. Okay, searching and finding. How do you think that might help in innovative thinking and problem solving? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, so just talk between yourselves. Go on, get to know each other. Okay. You probably realise that most of you have been, I think, basically searchers. You had an objective that you wanted to go for. There is a video that sometimes we used to show where you may have seen on YouTube a video where you're asked to count the number of passes made during a basketball match. Okay, and then because you're concentrating on that, you miss the gorilla dancing in the middle. You've seen that, haven't you? And that's a case where exactly that, if you're sort of given a particular focal point, you don't see what's around you. The medical school I went to was where penicillin was discovered. And was this person, I mean, you know the history of the penicillin? It was accidental. Okay, it wasn't looking for anything, it was an accidental thing. So it's sometimes just being aware, and I'll come back to that point again. So now, again, I'm going to put another flower in my little posy, and we're just going to journey into healthcare. So, 1948, July. Anarin Bevan, over here, left school at the age of 12. Welsh schoolboy from a village called Tredegar. He saw what was happening to his friends and families, and out of that, the NH, that drive, seeing what was happening seeing what's happening around him, the massive inequalities in healthcare, he really was the drive and the force behind the NHS. And I think one thing that you need to be aware of, the NHS is not just a healthcare system. We use the word healthcare systems in a very cold way. Its origins actually come from very socialist grounds, and it's a social movement, and it remains a social movement, and it's trying to remain a social movement. And looking at you today, I would say to you that you are going to be the custodians of this social movement, that it still is, but it's just hanging there as a social movement. And it really came out of compassion, seeing what was actually happening in British society post-war, and the massive inequalities. And at that time, it was very simple. Fast forward, and be careful what you say, because I understand this is going to go on the internet. But so this guy, you know, Jeremy Hunt, he was president of the Oxford University Conservative Association, born into an aristocratic background, a real man of the people. And recently, as you know, came into a massive inheritance of a couple of £1 million, yeah? So really understand what the common person is going through. I'm saying for the microphone and for the internet. And look at the NHS now. Very, very complex. And my old teacher, who gave me that book, The Other Men's Flowers, used to talk of this fraction you say in a family, you could be 1 out of 5. In a school, you could be, in my school it's 1 out of 600 boys, but now you can be 1 out of 2,000 kids. So what are you? How do you feel in this massive organisation? And this is the simplest version. This is, if you go to the Labour Party website, they show a much more complex one. This is the simplest version of the NHS as it is today. So, where do we stand? And this is where you can do some work again, okay? This basically is a graph of the world rankings of some Western health care systems. This is data that was used in 2013, but collected from 2011 onwards, okay? And the numbers there are the rankings of the sort of 11 nations. Now I want you to look at this graph, and again in pairs, tell me what stands out. Look at the most successful healthcare system, and look at the worst healthcare system, which is incredibly relevant to what's happened across the Atlantic recently, if you've been a follower of American politics. Again, a couple of minutes, because I want you to sort of keep your brains active. Look at that graph and think of what you see. Look at what you see.
My politics started in 360-degree camera, and all you're getting views of my chest coming up. Is that right? Okay. Big chest. Okay. Right. I mean, this is only 45 minutes, but anything that strikes you?
We spend the second least per capita.
And yet our world ranking is?
Mostly number 1.
And do you know what? Okay. It depends what figures you read. But do you know, this is actually the respective sort of Commonwealth Fund based in the US. This is from the US, these figures. Why do you think, what do you think has contributed to that sort of status? Sorry? It's our primary care system, apparently. Our primary care system is actually the best there is. Our training, which are other countries are looking at how we train GPs at the moment, is actually amongst the best, and the patient-centeredness that we have is something that is well recognised throughout the world. And so it's really a pat on the back for primary care, and it's primary care that that actually made this. Whoops. What's happening? It's Jeremy Hunter now.
On all this stuff will look like a year.
I know. And these figures are out of date at the moment, and I guess the thing was, at the time when this was done, our socialised healthcare system was number 1. And if you look to see what's happening in America, you know that there's a big move to repeal and replace Obamacare, which would have left 24 million Americans
without a healthcare system. And, however, the good side is 350 billion pounds would have gone to the top 1% richest. Hey, so which shows you the inequalities that actually can abound in certain healthcare system. And America is at this moment is the most expensive system. So wherever we are, wherever we're going, we still have sort of very high status in the world in terms of our healthcare. Now, really, I suppose America illustrates this, and the point that you raised now is that the healthcare systems now are actually, the pressure is exponential. You know the factors, you recognise some of the factors, and there are massive challenges. And also, I think within those, you're seeing a little bit of fragmentation. So even in our own healthcare system, we've seen sort of successive governments thinking, we'll do a little fix here. It's almost like putting elastoplast. So they come across a problem, and they use a very engineering approach to it, by which I mean they sort of think linearly. Here's a problem. They come up with a linear solution, and then they sort of try and fix it, and then that again yields another problem. So it's forever, and this just in our National Health Service, it actually is ubiquitous, mainly because of the pressures and the changes that demographically are occurring throughout the world. The aging population, having visited China recently, they actually, because of the one child policy, which has now gone to 2 child per family, have a massive problem with their aging population. Lots of chronic obstructive lung disease out there. And so there's lots of, these things are actually happening all around the world, and even in developing economies. So there does seem to be a sense of chaos, gaps in inequality and safety inefficiency. And that resonates with us at the NHS at the moment to a certain extent. There's also a change in the medical models. So, for instance, there's something called precision medicine. Now, precision medicine is, for instance, if you diagnose someone has a cataract, then that is a well-defined procedure, can be done in a very precise way. Often it doesn't need someone who's been trained as an ophthalmologist for 10 years or so. It can be someone who can be trained just to do that procedure. And there are countries around the world where they're actually not using ophthalmologists, but they're using sort of healthcare assistants to actually do just that procedure. And they become really good at it. Even coronary artery bypass grafting in certain countries is not necessarily done by cardiothoracic people, but done by someone who is trained to do that specific procedure. And requires low level of expertise. Evidence-based is perhaps what, I have to say, my faith in evidence-based medicine is waning over the years, mainly because I see the evidence conflicting all the time. I went from not prescribing hormone replacement therapy 10 years ago because of some research to putting people onto hormone replacement therapy. And I've sort of seen how Voltarol and naproxen and ibuprofen have vied to be the villains over the years, depending upon which paper comes out. So my faith in evidence-based medicine isn't there, but we have to go with what's best practice from the research that we have. And most of that can be done, for instance, in our practices by practice nurses. The diagnosis is made, there's a specific procedure they follow. So what is left for doctors? This is, I think, where we are. Oops, sorry. This is where I think we are. We're the intuitive practitioners. But are we? What do you mean by an intuitive practitioner? Okay? What does that actually mean? And some educationists think that the overemphasis on guidelines and teaching guidelines has taken over from intuitive practice. Okay? But that's what we should be doing. So that's when a patient comes to us with a collection of symptoms, we have to make sense of it, and then we can pass it on to the evidence-based or to the precisioners. Requires high level of expertise, but I have some doubts about whether or not our educational system, our training system for doctors actually still promotes intuitive practice. Okay, it's one of my, it's almost a lecture in intuitive medicine in a way, but I'm trying to avoid jumping onto that hobby horse. There's also changes in the generations. So if you look at me, so I'm actually a baby boomer here. Okay, my wife is just about Generation X, and I've got 2 kids who are millennials. Okay, so me, I've got elderly parents. Okay, so the baby boomers and the Generation X's we're actually caught between looking after our parents, who are high users of the healthcare system, who actually have a different sort of concept and the way in which they sort of look at authority. They're the ones that want to be told what to do. So if you have a consultation with someone from the greatest generation, and you say to them, well, these are the options, actually what they want you to say, they want you to tell them what they need to do. They need to be directed. So I know that we sometimes have formulaic consultation styles, but I would say to you that the best consultation is the one that adapts to the patients and picks up the cues. This is how the patient wants this consultation to sort of evolve. Okay, so I'm looking after my parents at the moment, 2 teenage kids, and so we're caught in the middle. And if I remember, this generation of baby boomers are the ones who often will bring their kids and will bring their sort of elderly parents, and we have different needs. There's a whole lot of jokes about millennials, which I won't go into, because most of you are millennials, I would think, so better not go there. Oh, yeah, this thing, yeah, need to connect me. I should have said at the beginning of the lecture, please feel free to tweet and use your phones. I'm so pleased you're tweeting away. I'm really pleased. I really didn't feel bad about that, so carry on tweeting, use your mobile phone, check your messages, because I know how bad you'll feel if you haven't accessed it in the last 30 seconds. I can see the withdrawal symptoms already. When am I going to be looking at my phone? So there's a strong desire for you guys to feel connected. And millennials get this sense of identity from that feeling of being connected in some way. But what do we all want? This is the thing that unifies us. Care and respect and compassion from people that we meet in the healthcare system. This is what we all want. It's the one thing that unites us. So what I'm painting is a picture of lots of changes happening. There's always been change. And even now, if you think about it, originally doctors were the highly trained, highly educated, and we were the resources of information. We aren't that anymore. You can go onto Google and look at anything you like. People come out, people actually are educating you. They've read this and that. So you are no longer, if you like, the repository of information. You don't have that power anymore because it's already out there. So what the patient and what the world interests, what can you do? What can you do? What is your role? Okay. And that's when everyone says, we need another paradigm shift. And that's always bad news, I'll tell you. Okay, so, again, I want you to sort of get into your twos again. And I want you to think about what's the difference between creativity and what is the difference between creativity and innovation? What do those things mean to you? Okay, because we're told that we need to be more creative, more innovative, given what we're facing there, that you see there. So, again, 2 minutes, just have a quick discussion. What's the difference? Okay. Okay. Normally I have a big discussion about this, but anyone sort of volunteer, what do you mean by creativity? What is my creativity? Just throw something out. Be creative.
Creativity is the genesis of something that is new and hasn't existed before, whereas innovation perhaps is the combination of the products of creativity to apply to a problem.
Did you Google that?
No?
Oh, excellent. Because I would have done that. You've got phones. Okay. Okay. Innovation.
Is that trying to think of a problem that people haven't thought of yet? So as opposed to reacting to something that somebody's told you to do, it's thinking, oh, I can do this in a better way.
Okay. Right. Normally I had a massive discussion about this, but we literally are very time constrained. So let me tell you what the difference is. So creativity actually is the process of generating original ideas and insights. Innovation is having those original ideas and insights, but then those have to have value for a lot of people, okay? And then implement in a way that changes people's lives. So an innovation, for instance, the iPhone often uses as an innovation because it's actually, I don't know whether you know about Steve Jobs. Do you know about Steve Jobs' background? You know, he went off traveling India for a while to discover himself, reinvent himself. Did you know all this? No? He did the Siddhartha thing. He literally wanted to, and lots of the things and the concepts and how I'm trying to get in touch with what people were in touch with, the iPhone was generated out of that. And so innovation has to have value for people. And also is a violation of existing rules. Often you need to get away from sort of the thinking process that you have. Now, this is an interesting thing. This is a study done from Harvard. And what Harvard Business School did, they interviewed the CEOs of all the most innovative companies. They interviewed Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and they said, what are the characteristics of an innovator? How do you identify someone with innovative skills? What are their characteristics? And they basically identified, firstly, these people were capable of associative thinking. Now, what I mean by that, it could be that associative thinking might be, you're queuing up at Disney World at Epcot Centre, there's a massive queue, and you think, well, how is Disney managing queues? How can we manage that in our surgeries? People dressed up as, I don't know, when I go there, dressed up as various things to promote things. But in other words, making links between this thing over here could solve this problem over here. And this comes from not actually searching, it's actually finding. It's just there. It's making that association. Also being imaginative, not being bound. Oh, you're so tired, aren't you? Have a good yawn. What is that? Do not be embarrassed, all of you. Have a good yawn. Just do it. Okay. So, other thing is question the status quo. So question me. Question what I'm doing. And the regulations. Question the regulations. And also, these people are great observers. They often sit there, but they're looking at things. And they just literally are much more aware. They have this sort of finding. It's not sort of just focused there. It literally is that kind of thinking. And the other thing, they are capable of networking. These people are able to identify other key people who can help them take their idea forward. Okay, and I may come back to that. Fearlessly experimenting and not afraid of failure. As you know, some innovative companies actually celebrate failures. When someone has an idea, they try to have it fails, they don't actually get depressed. They say, yeah, let's celebrate it. What can we learn from it? Okay, and that is the culture that actually promotes innovation. Those are the kind of characteristics that you see in innovators. So, what we should be doing in our education system is making you guys innovators, shouldn't we? Yeah, we should be turning you into those kinds